Welcome back. Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, has laid out his 2025 and future roadmap for the Ethereum blockchain. We're going to be talking about where Ethereum stands today, as many people are pushing the FUD like crazy, saying that Ethereum is never going to reach its all-time record high and is done for when all of the new chains like Sui and Sei and Solana are overtaking Ethereum. Well, we're going to discuss whether that is actually accurate, but first, we're going to be talking about what is going on with Ripple and what in the XRP is going on here. Ripple offered $4 to $5 billion to buy stablecoin issuer Circle amid a time where Ripple has their own stablecoin, RLUSD, which continues to grow market cap, currently about $317 million. This is a highly regulated coin, and they say that this is going to be the future of stablecoin interoperability and usage. Well, we will see about that. But why in the Ripple would they try to buy Circle? We're going to be discussing all of that and more in today's video. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Give the video a free thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new video. And let's get right into today's topic, starting out right here with Ripple. Ripple sees a huge UK opportunity as new crypto rules inch forward. Now, I want you to pay attention to what they're saying here and, more importantly, what they're not saying here. Ripple, the blockchain firm that designed XRP crypto, is cheering on UK crypto clarity. Ripple's UK and Europe managing director praised the announcement of a draft crypto legislation and called it a clear sign of intent from the government, saying, quote, "At Ripple, we see huge opportunity here, and it's why the UK is one of the largest office hubs outside the US, I guess, for Ripple, with year-on-year investment into their Ripple operations and talent." As part of the proposed rules, crypto exchanges and custodians must abide by the same transparency and consumer protection as finance firms. The legislation also stated that exchanges servicing UK users must be licensed in the country to do so. Ripple executives have called on the UK government to create the legal framework for cryptos. Last month, the company's policy director of Europe said the UK lacked other major jurisdictions in crypto and blockchain. They said the UK has the chance to lead, and now it's time to move at pace. But what are we not hearing here? What are we not hearing? What we're not hearing is what Ripple wants to do with this opportunity. This is a huge issue for Ripple right now because there's a lot of speculation on the XRP coin based on what Ripple is doing, even though Ripple has proven over and over and over and over that what Ripple does is not necessarily to the benefit of XRP. Bottom line, period. The best example of that is Brad Garlinghouse and the executives over at Ripple specifically and clearly stating that they have 37% approximately of the the maximum supply of XRP, and that they are going to continue to sell it on the open market. And so while everybody's cheering on an XRP ETF, everybody's cheering on, Ripple to, continue to expand now that they've beaten the SEC lawsuit, nobody is discussing how this positively impacts XRP. And again, it may not need to. We just did a video the other day of basically, I forgot who it was, but basically one of the people in the crypto space basically was like, well, you don't have to understand why the price movements move the way that they do. You just have to understand they do, and that they're probably going to continue to move opposite to fundamentals just based on speculation and based on where the community is, because the XRP community is large. And the XRP community, because there are people in XRP who've been holding for years, and they have no plans to sell because they believe that XRP is going to be used in the world of finance from central banks and the like. They believe this. Now, I don't necessarily believe it to that degree, like a maximalist, but as I always say, do not sleep on XRP and do not sleep on the XRP community, because everything that they've wanted to happen and talked about wanting to happen with, Ripple becoming a global kind of currency for cross-border transactions and continue expansion. It's all happening. It's all happening. Nothing the XRP community have put forward since I've been following the crypto space has failed, right? It may have taken a lot longer than people anticipated, but Ripple and XRP seem to always get the good side of the stick. So anyway, what do we not see here is what they're going to do with the opportunity. They say they see this as a huge opportunity, but what exactly does that mean? What exactly is Ripple going to be doing? And meanwhile, we're now seeing that Ripple offered $4 to $5 billion for this stablecoin issuer Circle, according to Bloomberg. And apparently the offer was rejected. The issuer of not just the XRP token, but stablecoin issuer RLUSD's Ripple made and was rejected in a buyout attempt of Circle, the issuer of USDC, according to sources telling Bloomberg that Ripple remained interested in Circle, but hasn't decided whether to make another offer. Ripple recently launched the RLUSD stablecoin, and the stablecoin is currently at 300 million. As I just showed you, it's a little bit more than 300 million. But if we compare it to Tether, 148 billion, Circle, $61 billion, right? Now you may say, well, why did they only offer $5 billion instead of 60 billion? Well, keep in mind, 60 billion is the market cap. This is how much US dollars they have issued. This doesn't mean this how much money they're making. So giving them a 10%, maybe a 8% offer of their total market cap, I think it's fair. But why are they doing this? Like, why would they do this? Well, a few different reasons. One, maybe Ripple realizes how difficult it is going to be to get into the same market cap space that Circle's in. And so purchasing Circle would just accelerate their growth even more. The other thing to keep in mind is, why would all of these companies want to purchase a stablecoin issuer? Well, it's important to realize that stablecoin issuers make a ton of money, right? From my understanding, Coinbase makes more on US dollars, like on this USDC, than they do on, than Circle makes, right? Coinbase makes more because of their pool of liquidity that they're using to earn interest and whatever else they're earning. But there is money to be made in stable coins, believe it or not. A lot of people don't fully realize this, but you're essentially, as a stablecoin issuer, you're essentially a bank, right? I mean, you're essentially a bank. You're issuing coins, you're redeeming coins, and you're putting the dollars or the dollar denominated assets that back the coin into interest earning accounts. And so when you have a large pool of liquidity that you can earn 5% on, if you're earning 5% on $60 billion fairly consistently, right? What does that equal? 5% of, it would be about $3 billion a year, approximately. And so if you share some of that with your users, let's say you share half of it with your users and you keep the other half. I'm just going to use this for easy numbers. That means Circle will be making $1.5 billion a year just on the interest of what is being held in dollar-denominated assets. Now, you could say, well, they shouldn't be taking any of that money because it's your money that you're holding, but technically it's not, right? It's the same thing like a bank taking your money and then lending it out to earn interest on it. Technically, it's still your money, but they're the intermediary. So you're giving them the money and then giving them permission to do whatever they want with the money. And they're going to give you 0.001% interest. But guess what? They're going to take the other 5% interest, right? It's very different in crypto. But there is a lot of money to be made in these stable coins. But again, why would Ripple be trying to purchase Circle? Either one, they realize it's going to be very difficult to get to the market cap that Tether or Circle are. And this would kind of be an advancement, right? It's kind of like, instead of having to go to school, you just wake up one day and all the knowledge that you had from being in school for 20 years, it just pops into your mind, right? Like, you don't even have to go to school to learn all of that. It's just an acceleration. But Circle is in a really good spot right now that I don't think that they need to nor want to sell to Ripple, because if they're turning down a $5 billion valuation from Ripple, that means that they think that they're worth much more than that. And remember, Circle said that they're probably going to IPO at some point in the future. And when they IPO, that means that they think that their IPO is going to be worth more than $5 billion. Whether it is or isn't, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Anyway, moving right along, we're also now hearing a little bit more about Ethereum and Vitalik's vision for Ethereum. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people don't necessarily agree with what Vitalik's vision is, but let's remember, Vitalik is not just an individual. Like, he's the leader of a lot of different organizations and companies, and also just kind of like unofficiated leader of the developers, right? People listen to what he says, and a lot of people want to help bring that vision across. And I don't think that Vitalik just comes up with these ideas just on his own. I think that he's taking a lot of feedback from his advisors, from his developers, to kind of figure out what is the best path forward. And so let's understand exactly what Vitalik has laid out here for his kind of view for the rest of 2025 and into 2026. So right here, we see Vitalik posted this post in response to an April 28th post. It said twin goals for the Ethereum Foundation: usage of Ethereum. But usage is a type where users are actually benefiting from the Ethereum's underlying properties. And two is resilience and decentralization of Ethereum viewed holistically, focused on addressing points of weakness anywhere in the stack. Now, that was just a few days before he posted this and said, my personal focuses and non-focuses for 2025 should be predictable from things I've done and written about, but it's worth restating explicitly. Now, Vitalik, he said, my personal focuses and non-focuses for 2025. He said, my personal focus for 2025 is Ethereum, particularly layer one long-term roadmaps, and two is full stack security for open source and privacy, ensuring Ethereum is usable in a way that is highly secure, free of centralized intermediaries, and privacy friendly, including higher up the stack. He also talks about big picture, like communication tools, info and social layer, mechanism design like governance, cryptography, operating systems, hardware, infrastructure, biodefense, etc. Well, what exactly does this all mean? Well, Ethereum still stands as a heavyweight of the smart contract platform, but stay on top means relentless re-innovation. This is one of the big things for the legacy chains that we've talked about. They have a big issue, is that they have to keep up with all of these newer chains and all of the chains that are more developed and more used. And this is potentially why Ripple was trying to buy XRP, because it just accelerates that growth even faster than it would be just organically. And so the Ethereum development roadmap, from the upcoming Pectra upgrade to Fusaka, and then the Glamsterdam Ethereum update, is more than a technical checklist. It's a balancing act, scaling to meet global demand while fiercely defending the decentralized ideals that Ethereum was built on. In many ways, these upgrades aren't just upgrades, they're Ethereum's ultimate stress test. And so Vitalik's focus for Ethereum is now here. In 2024, a leadership shakeup at the Ethereum Foundation opened up a new chapter. Vitalik stepped away from day-to-day operation and returned to his core strength, charting Ethereum's deepest future. Now, free from the managerial duties, Buterin is diving into hard problems like scaling Ethereum for billions, embedding privacy at the protocol level, and protecting decentralization in a rapidly centralizing world. The major research areas for Buterin will be Ethereum scalability roadmap, exploring new execution models to make Ethereum faster and cheaper without sacrificing security. Right now, the main scalability layer for Ethereum is layer 2s. But is this going to be able to still scale? Because as layer 2s scale and grow, and the layer 1 is still going to have more throughput and more bandwidth needs. Privacy enhancements, developing a native feature like stealth addresses and private transactions to protect users from default, and then rethinking how nodes validate and process transactions to prepare for an ultra-scalable, decentralized Ethereum. He outlines a vision for an ecosystem that remains open, trustless, and adaptable to a much larger, more complex global landscape. And again, we are there right now, right? We have governments, we have hedge funds and all of this buying into crypto. And not only just buying into crypto, but also buying into the development of this whole blockchain space. And now We are hearing that Base has reached stage 1 in Ethereum's roll-up decentralization with fault proofs and Security Council. So developers at Coinbase's incubated layer 2 rollup called Base, they said the network has reached stage 1 of Vitalik Buterin's framework for rollup decentralization. They said Base has achieved stage 1 decentralization, a critical milestone in the journey to build an open and global on-chain economy. We've done this by launching permissionless fault proofs and increasing the decentralization of the contract upgrade process with a security council. Previously, Base was classified as a stage 0 rollup, primarily because it still relied on centralized sequencers controlled by Coinbase and lacked a fully operational permissionless fault proof on the main net. Stage 0, also called training wheels phase, is when the rollup is heavily reliant on centralized entities such as the project team or operator for key functions like state validation, transaction sequencing, and upgrades. The first step towards achieving stage 1, Base implemented fault proofs on the main net in October of last year. This change allowed anyone to monitor and challenge invalid withdrawals without permission. Fault proofs act as a mechanism for Ethereum Layer 2 networks, permitting users to challenge potentially fraudulent or incorrect transactions. Despite this milestone, however, Base has not yet achieved stage 1 in decentralization as of then. But this is because additional requirements were needed, such as a fully operational security council with decentralized governance and a further reduction of Coinbase's control over the sequencer. Well, those have now been met, and they have reached stage 1 status to reduce the trust assumption on Base. So it's decentralizing it, giving more of the power to the decentralized ecosystem. I mean, at the end of the day, Base is still centralized, right? I mean, the Security Council is probably insiders that work very closely with Base. Base is going to be somewhat controlled, but more of a decentralized kind of way. Think about like a publicly traded company being run by a board of directors. The board of directors may not be fully aligned on everything, but they are definitely looking out for the benefit of the actual organization and the growth of that organization. But they may not agree on the individual pieces of that, but they come to a consensus, and that's really what decentralized, I guess, decision making comes to and comes from. But as you guys can see, there is a lot of growth and there is a lot of, it seems like, intense excitement about what's happening in the ecosystem. But this also is an indicator that we are potentially in the final phases of this bull market when everything's coming together. You guys ever see that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once? Kind of like what's going on in crypto. Everything Everywhere All at Once. We have Ripple trying to buy stable coins, Ripple creating their own stable coin, Ripple, expanding into other areas of the world, Vitalik and Ethereum working on really kind of long-term sustainability of the network, decentralizing their layer 2s. We're seeing the president, the administration, the regulatory agencies all kind of getting on board. Banks are getting more involved. Traditional financial institutions are getting more involved in crypto. And so this is all going in one direction. If you can't figure out what that direction is, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, everything that we talk about on this channel is really about where this future of financial world is going, and specifically revolving around the crypto verse. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think about Ripple, XRP, and Ethereum down below in the comments. I'll see you when I see you. Invest responsibly, and as always, crypto on.